Hello everybody, Realm Builder Guy here, and welcome back to the channel. And welcome to a new first look review style video of a new game, at least new to me, and brand new, coming here very shortly. I do plan on making these kind of first look review videos a more constant here on the channel moving forward. Kind of breaks up the monotony of the usual content and lets me get into a few other new games and maybe broadens the horizons for you as well. So I want to, first of all, thank you for all the likes, comments, and subscriptions and views and so on from the last few first view videos that I have done and everything in general. And if you could hit the like on this one as well, it would be greatly appreciated. I also want to thank Slytherin Games, who actually sent me a copy, or a code, better said, for Fantasy General 2 and the new DLC, Fantasy General 2 Evolution, which will be available on February 25th. Now, it's not sponsored by Slytherin. They sent me a game code, so obviously, whether they sent me a game code or not, my opinion is not swayed by that. And I will tell you right now, overall, this will be a pretty positive review. Now, unlike some of the other first looks where it was like, literally, I opened it up, and that's the first time I even opened the game, I have spent a little bit of time in here because there's a lot to get into. There's a lot to talk about. Fantasy General 2 in general, and then Evolution DLC in particular. As you can see here on the screen, there's some big lizards here, and that is the theme of Evolution, and I will get into that separately. But first of all, Fantasy General 2 is based on the 1996 hit game Fantasy General, which I remember playing as a teenager because I'm really freaking old. And I thought, oh, that was so amazing. It was the pinnacle of strategy, wargaming, fantasy, all combined, and man, it was so innocent days back then in the late 90s. But anyway, this is a turn-based strategy war game, and something that I really enjoy. So this is not Total War. Don't get confused with Total War. Yes, there are campaigns you're going through, but you're not really building your realm. What you're building is your military, your units, as well as your main hero characters. So there is building, there's upgrading and all that, and I'll get into that in a second. Now, first of all, you do have multiple options: audio, graphics, gameplay. So you can get rid of the tutorial now. You've got a whole bunch of languages you can go through, your keyboard, and multiplayer as well. Then what you have are three main different modes. You also have multiplayer. I'm not going to get into that. I don't really play a lot of multiplayer. So first of all, you have a skirmish mode where you can kind of pick your map from any of these, and then next you pick your army, supply, gold, etc., and the map theme and so on, and then you kind of go select your faction, select a different faction, an AI faction, and go from there. Haven't really spent a lot of time in skirmish. I have spent some time in Onslaught, and I'll get into that in a second. Now, campaign, you have three major campaigns to pick from: Invasion, which goes with the game; Empire Aflame, which is part of a separate Empire Aflame DLC; and then now Evolution. So this is a medium lizard campaign, and you have a long Empire campaign and a long Barbarian campaign. And what these campaigns are is you have a hero or a couple of heroes that you start off with, as well as some military units, and I will show you how it looks in Evolution, but you basically go through missions on different scenarios and different maps, and then you progress from mission to mission, and you can pick some directions you go and upgrade from there, but I'll show that in a second. Next is Onslaught. Now, this one's really interesting. You can go Amulet of Power, Procedural Campaign, or Short Introductory Campaign, The Curse. Now, this is procedurally generated, so you pick this, and then you can pick from a number of different starting heroes. And obviously, the more DLCs you have, the more you can pick from. You can see here your starting units. Here's some basic faction information. You choose your hero, and then you launch in, and every single time it's slightly different. We pick him. You can choose your difficulty setting, enemy scaling. So basically, since you're already a veteran, if we go to hero or normal, you can normally pick enemy scaling that it goes up based on how you do. And then it creates a scenario for you to play, and you can pick different directions. Let's actually do that here real quick. We will play this, and the loading screens are pretty quick. Narrator. Now, there's no voice acting, and that is probably my biggest issue with the game, that you have to read these. Now, it's not a big deal. I read, and I assume you read as well. You are literate, after all, but it'd be nice to have some voice acting. So you go through this basic start scenario, and then you can pick where on this overall really nice map of the world you want to go. You can see all the different areas. You're from Far Reach, the Sunken Lands, and so on. And you can pick a starting scenario here. Down here, the head for the Watchful Coast, land in the south, and land in the west. And then it kind of goes from there in branches depending on which way you go. So it's different most every single time. But that's not what this is about. This is kind of a general overview of the different options you have in the game. But of course, this is focused on the new DLC, Evolution, and we're going to go into that campaign. I'm going to start it off and kind of show you some of the ropes, show you a little bit what to expect from the game. Move in this opening scenario, the opening mission, and kind of show you some things. And then I will jump forward. I had already played a little bit and just kind of show you the campaign map and what to expect from there. So here you can see you can pick the difficulty setting, whether you want to play Iron Maiden or Iron Man or whatever you want to call it, and then enemy scaling off or on. If you have it on, the enemy AI will be matched to your current army size, resulting in more constant challenge. If disabled, a fixed enemy army size will be set for every mission, regardless of your own army. Scaling is fun. It does make it, after a while, quite challenging. So this game, the loading times are pretty quick. It's not an overly graphics-intensive game, so you can play this even on a potato. I don't have a super advanced gaming PC myself. I've got a pretty good one. It handles every game that's out there, but it's not, crazy. So anyway, you have this starting character here, Zlag, or Schlak. He is your main hero. You also saw him in the Onslaught campaign option, or the Onslaught game option. And you kind of go through this opening, almost like a tutorial. And these are all your different characters. And as you can see here, you are expelled. You need to explore the archipelago. Zlag and his siblings must survive. You can hunt crabs to feed your tribe. That's the optional hunt. So you have Zlag here. You have your different unit cards. So this is your typical melee. You've got a sword here. The hand indicates a magic user. This indicates like a javelin throwing type unit, and here this is, I'm not sure what the claw really means. It basically means you've got two characters in one here, and you have two in here, one there, but you've got the claw unit. What makes the lizardmen so interesting is that they can move so freely in water, and in fact have no negative modifiers to how they attack or defend or anything like that. Plus they can hide in it and ambush. So if you would go here, for instance, you can see the little icon, the little blue one that shows that you are hidden. Now if we look at Slag, he is your hero. He's the lizard folk hero. You've got your health 100 of 100. Required supply for this unit is 2. You have your supply limit there. Your squad size, it's 1 of 1. Your XP. Now through everything you do, if you defeat an enemy, and especially if he defeats an enemy and these guys are close by, everyone levels up. If you find gold or anything like that, treasure, you will get more XP, and then you can level up. You can evolve, and I'll talk about the evolution mechanic here in a second. On top of that, you have your armor attribute or rating, your speed rating, how fast you are, your search, so how far a unit can see, revealing fog of war. And then you have your morale, which impacts the unit's fighting power and is gained or lost by casualties caused or suffered in their immediate vicinity. On top of that, you have a bone sword. So it deals 15 in magic damage, an attack of 3. Attributes magic ignores armor, but is reduced by morale instead. So a high morale target will reduce the effectiveness. Then you have multiple other attributes here as well. Got a hero attribute, so that's plus 50% invulnerable damage reduction. He's amphibious, so that means he can move very fast through all water. His retreat, so when attacked in melee, the unit has a chance to retreat from combat unharmed. Water fighter, so that means ignores all combat penalties in water and plus 20% damage for combat in water. He can ambush, so if he's sitting here and a unit comes out here, he can automatically ambush attack, so that gives him a bonus there. And then Terror from the Deep can hide in deep water and swamps. He's currently exceeding supply limit. Then you have multiple options down here. You can rest. This is basically if you've taken damage. Instead of taking an action that turn, you click on this and you rest. Next turn, you are fully healed. Melee attack. So this is basically your attack option. If there's someone here, you can select that manually to attack them. Odds are it's just going to be automatic anyway because he doesn't have many other options. You can also raid, so raid settlement over the course of a turn, destroying it and some wealth in the process. Gain a random treasure based on remaining wealth, which is also fun. And then you have these two, so you can open the skill tree for the individual character. So Slag, you have Grow Pockets. You can kind of progress through here and get bonuses based on that. Then on top of that, you have a unit upgrade. So this is Slag. This is the evolution of it. So you can see he's kind of a semi-cute little lizard newt. But then as you progress up, he starts getting angrier and angrier until you finally reach the max up here. And it gives you all of these different bonuses. Now, if you are a regular unit, here, you're a magic user. On top of that, he can use Ancestor Guidance to call upon Ancestor to protect a target. Can cleanse, removes all status effects from targeted units. And ranged attack for him, so you click on that, look on a target, and he will do a ranged attack of magic. If you are these guys here, you can do a skirmish attack without receiving counter from melee troops, so you can pick that. And then if you have archers, obviously you click on that and select your target to basically do a ranged attack. Then if I think of other things, you can do an inventory here if there's some interesting equipment. And here you could recruit people, but you have no recruits available. Up here is your supply, determines how many units your army can maintain. And here is the wealth in a region, determines how much value can be received from income, rating, and exploring locations. Winning a scenario will reward you with the treasure equal to the remaining wealth. I have yet to gain much wealth from that. So anyway, we did some of the opening moves. So we'll move him. Another little thing you can do if you only want to walk, if you want to get here, but you don't want to expose yourself through this more shallow water, what you do is you hold the Alt key, and then you right-click the different locations you want to go, let go of the Alt key, right-click one more time, and then Yig, and the claw will move up there. You can see here is a target, and we will go through that here in a minute. And I will just move these guys up to their designated locations and move forward. So you got through all your units. You can also just skip, and it'll, you know, automatically go cycle through your units, hit end turn, and now it is your turn again. So, what can you do here? You can move these guys right there into deep water. They are still not being seen. And you can also move this guy up into this position. So now, as you can see, that little blue icon of not being seen, they have been spotted. We'll move him over here. You can also manually end turn right here. They have spotted him, they move forward. There is an ambush attack, and that's basically the combat. They then counterattack, and you've taken damage. So now this guy, this is your magic user. As you can see, that is the arc for magic. He is, of course, seen. They take damage. He can attack, dealing damage. And there you go, you've defeated them and everyone gets to eat. And this is how you basically progress through everything. Now, I will also show you in a different campaign that's not the evolution campaign. But what's fun about this is you are going through this water world bit by bit. There's a fantasy RPG element to everything. If we go to the next turn, here's an example. So he's taken damage. You can just click on resting, and now they will rest for the rest of this turn. We can't really do much of anything else. What I usually do then in situations like this, I'll just move everybody kind of up to a point, though not too far. See, they found something in the seagrass. Seagrass, of course, others can hide in that, so you do have to be aware of that. There you can see another scenario of, let's flip through this. You can explore this here. We will do that quickly as well. Just move these units. And you basically have to look at this game as entire army units. Now, in this scenario, these are individuals. But if you're playing, for instance, as the Empire or as the Barbarians, you have a unit comprising of multiple soldiers in there. And that's kind of how you have to look at it. So let me just move this forward, move him onto there, and he will discover something. Bad Storms, just basically he gained an outlandish artifact, which in this case is a fork. So what does a fork do? If we look at inventory, the fork will give you a +1 to morale. So you move through this mission, and you've got your little map down here on the right. You can show the grid, you can hide the grid. Here you can show the grid on the main map, or you can hide it. You can also just minimize that entire thing. So I'm not going to go through this entire scenario. Instead, I'm going to leap forward real quick. So this is what the overall campaign map looks like. And you will be moving through this world mission by mission. So now, obviously, you've been expelled from here, and this is the island where you are. This is where you're going to be looking. Now, if you click on your character, here's Locke. As you can see, he can open the unit upgrade tree, and we can upgrade to the next level. If we look at it, higher hit points and additional attributes here as well. He can now he can be a flesh eater. On top of that, rage, he's now a hero. So you upgrade it, and you have a little DNA icon here, or genetic icon, and you have now evolved to the next level. Now you can have different upgrades throughout here. You look at the skill tree, so he has added rage, and you can kind of move up this skill tree or this skill tree. The next one probably would be more health, which gives you a +50 to that. But that's the basic overview. You then click on here, and it gives you a general overview of what the next scenario is. I'm not going to read through all of this because I've already done it, and I'll show you the load times here real quick. It's pretty fast overall, and again, I'm not running some kind of monster PC. There you go. And now, when you're starting a new scenario, you can deploy your units, and then you end your deployment, and you get going. So, and then you keep moving, and you follow the mission. So the mission here is travel up the river to investigate the strange creatures. Slag and his siblings must survive. Now, I'm not going to go through every single scenario here or every single mission, just because it's spoilers. I mean, this is mission-based. You're progressing basically level by level. You can see up here, here's your evolution points. You've got 1. You always need to survive, and you can also see, if we scroll in here, you can see your character a little bit more. Let's move him over here, and you can take a look at him. So he's evolved a little bit more. He's a little bit more imposing of a character there, and there you've got some more crabs you need to kill. But that is the basics of evolution. You are the lizard folk going through step by step by step through these missions, achieving new things, and finding a new home for your expelled people. I'll tell you what, this game is a ton of fun. Now, these missions get progressively harder. And after a while, it can be very challenging, and you need to think very clearly. Where do I position my units? Where do I position my heroes? Because if Zlag and his siblings, if any single one of these dies, you've lost the mission, and you have to start over. In other ones, I did an Empire run, where I only had 2 heroes. If either one of the heroes dies, you're done, but you still have, your other military units, and you carry them from adventure to adventure, scenario and mission to mission, so you actually care about them, so you're not rebuilding every single time. So I wanted to get into the Onslaught mode one more time here, and this is with a barbarian hero right here. You've got Relkar, and then you have the different units. I wanted to show you these. You have, for instance, the Younglings, Light Shock Infantry. You've got their sword, their damage, and they can raid, and you can do the upgrade tree here as well, and move them and upgrade them depending on which direction you want to go. The hero, again, as before, skill tree, you can move up the skill tree unit. Skill tree, not skill tree unit. You have multiple options. You can fortify. I mean, this is not a guide on how to play this game, but you can see you've got the ranged units here. We have no enemy units here to speak of, except for this one guy down here. I don't know. I think I've ended a turn, but be that as it may, the Onslaught situation, scenario, campaign, whatever it is, you can see here you kill all brigands and your main hero must survive, which in this case is Relkar. The replayability of Onslaught is huge. I've just tried a few different scenarios, a few different heroes, and it's always a little bit different because obviously your tactics change, the opposition changes a little bit, your upgrades change, and all of that determines how you progress through these situations. It is a really, really fun game. I will put a link to Steam down in the description. Unfortunately, you cannot get this through Nexus GG in my storefront there, at least not last time I saw. This will be available on February 25th, at least the Evolution DLC will be. You can get everything else in the meantime, the base game as well as the other DLCs. I highly recommend this game. It is a ton of fun to play. You have a lot of different options, and your tactics really do matter as far as who you bring up against whom. Flanking is an option. Ambush is an option. Going through cover is an option. So there are so many different things to keep in mind when you're going through your different scenarios and campaigns and missions. So I hope you found this helpful and interesting. Let me just get out of this and go back to the main menu. It's a fun game. I recommend Fantasy General 2, especially if you're looking for something that's not quite as intense as, say, Total War, but Total War Warhammer, but you still like the fantasy setting. It's not an easy game, so this isn't one to just chill. You do need to think a little bit more about your tactics and which units you employ for which scenario, where you move in the terrain, and your decisions, because you do get different decisions that pop up in the campaigns where you can press A, B, or C, and that'll determine what direction you go. So at high replayability, also in the campaigns, and Onslaught on top of that. So you have hours and hours of fun here with Fantasy General. If you enjoyed this one, please hit that like button. Don't forget to check out the links in the description. Until next time, I'm Realm Builder Guy, and I will talk to you soon.